Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bronson's Soapbox, and today I'm going to be doing a very special episode for me, at least. And I'm going to rank World of Warcraft and its various expansions from number 6 to number 1. 6 being the worst, and in my opinion, there's only one bad expansion, Warlords of Draenor, and then all the other great content of 1 through 5. I'm doing this part primarily because the Warcraft movie's out in a week, and I'm super excited. And then in a couple months, we are getting World of Warcraft Legion, which is a new expansion. Looks fantastic and a huge, huge step up from the train wreck that has been Warlords of Draenor. Anyway, on to the list. Number 6 is obviously Warlords of Draenor. It's not to say it was all bad. The graphic improvement with new character models and some new animations, and it's easily the best looking expansion so far. That was ace. And the actual raids were fantastic. Some of the best in the actual history of Warcraft as far as mechanics and the way bosses work and the different tier difficulties. The problem is, if you are not a hardcore mythic raider, that top 5% or so, this is easily the worst expansion in all of Warcraft history. While the questing was good the first time, leveling 90 to 100, you'll do all the zones and all the storylines. So when you level alt, nothing to do really besides see that same shit again. All those storylines again. It's not like the other ones where you have branching paths and multiple options. The first 2 raid tiers were super small, and not only were they pretty small, they were, you could get through them in about 2 months on normal mode. The game just in general lacked content. It was really, you didn't have a reason to go out in the world and do stuff because of your garrison. Like, you could get everything you needed in your garrison: money, gold, gear. It was like, okay, I'm going to send my followers out, wait 2 hours, and then do it again. And I'm going to do the same thing, but raiding. Oh, I need materials? Well, I have a garden in my garrison for herbs. I have a mine for mining, and I have a thing to fish at. There was no real reason to go socialize and do stuff with other players, which is the point of a goddamn MMO. And what stuff there was to do out there was pointless. Everyone loved the treasure map stuff and the catch-up mechanics and the Timeless Isle on Mists of Pandaria. But that was very much a filler patch. It's like they decided, let's turn a filler patch into an entire expansion. And it still lacked content because the first patch, 6.1, added a selfie camera. They dedicated an entire .1 patch to giving you a fucking selfie camera. And then 6.2, while awesome, will have lasted over a year. That means they expected you to spend a year in Hellfire Citadel, a literal hellhole. And just, this is the kind of game design that happens when you only focus on, the most hardcore possible, PvE players. Because even PvP was broken because Ashran was terrible. So, yeah, there's that. Anyway, on to the good stuff. Number 5 is World of Warcraft Cataclysm. I really liked Cataclysm. I think it was a great expansion. I really liked Deathwing I really liked at the time Deathwing as a villain. It was just really cool to have a giant black dragon versus these really powerful villains, but they're still human-sized or night elf-sized in Illidan's case. And when it launched, it easily had one of the strongest launches to an expansion. There was tons of stuff to do. You had multiple, you had plenty of reasons to go back and level an alt between the 2 new races. The Alliance got a taste of savagery with the Worgen, while the Horde got their diminutive, short, little tinkery people with the goblins. Time is money, friend, and things of that nature. So that was cool. And one of the big things that was bad about World of Warcraft during Burning Crusade and Wrath is those games had significant improvements in questing that vanilla didn't have, and they went back and redid all that. So the 1 to 60 experience was super fun, and they added all these memorable quest lines, and they progressed the story of all these different zones, and that was super cool. the actual raids were really well done. I wasn't a big fan of Bastion of Twilight, but Blackwing Descent and Throne of Four Winds were both fucking awesome. The fact that they made heroics difficult again, like it wasn't like Wrath where it was like, yeah, chain pull everything, AOE it down. You actually had to like, okay, you're gonna sheep that one, then we're gonna sap that one, and then DPS them in this order, or else we're all gonna die. And you actually had to like strategize to get through heroics to gear for raids again. And I thought that was a nice change of pace from the way Wrath did things. Uh, Now that's not to say there weren't problems. I feel they could have eased you into those really hard heroics a little better because like I feel a lot of players quit because of like, oh, Wrath heroics outside of the like Lich King ones, like the patch 3.3 ones were way a jump up above in difficulty. Like they could have eased that in a little better. The expansion was very uneven because it launched strong, but then I believe it was patch 4.1 was just, hey, we took the troll raids that everyone liked and made them into heroics. That's cool, right? And then while Firelands in patch 4.2 was an amazing raid, it's actually one of my favorites in all of World of Warcraft history. It was very short, and it was also it was very short, and it was like kind of easy in my opinion. And even if it was kind of easy, it the closing raid for the expansion, the one where you took down Deathwing, was awful. It was, I believe, 8 bosses. It was called Dragon Soul, and it was just the worst. Like the first 4 bosses just weren't fun. It looked, it wasn't in a zone that really mattered. It was just this, like, it felt really ambitious, but it was a train wreck. And then you compare that last boss fight, where it's like, oh, it's tentacle hentai Deathwing in the Maelstrom, while you rip off his fingernails while all the NPCs do the real heavy lifting, versus like the epic Lich King fight or the Illidan fight, or even in vanilla like Kel'Thuzad and Nefarian. Like compared to all the other previous last bosses, it was kind of lame. And it sucked because Deathwing had the potential to be the coolest one. And it added LFR, which, looking for raids, some people view it as bad, some people view it as good. I kind of have mixed opinions on it. I think LFR is a needed thing, but it still should be like somewhere in the middle between like, this should be like if you just want to see the story, like it shouldn't be relevant content if you're a hardcore reader. So there's that. And then I also think that Cataclysm, the end patch lasted too long, and the experience was very uneven. Launch strong, following launch very weak. Troll Dungeons come out, middle ground. Then Firelands, super awesome. Dragon Soul sucked. It was just a very uneven experience. I will say the 3 heroics from the Caverns of Time that came with Dragon Soul, those 5-mans were cool as hell, especially the one where you went back and did like the Well of Eternity stuff. Anyway, moving forward, number 4, Burning Crusade. I know I'm going to get crucified for this, but hear me out. The good the Burning Crusade did. It set the standard for future expansions. You got a new profession. You got 2 new races. You got flying. They did quest hubs. So back in Vanilla WoW, one of the things that was very common is like, oh, here's this quest from this dude out in the middle of nowhere. The quest he is giving you needs to be completed on the other side of the fucking planet. And versus Burning Crusade, which was here, you get all these quests at this place, and you do them in the area, the area, like the surrounding area, or at least kind of close. There was still a lot of grinding because drop rates were low and crappy, but it was still like, it was a lot better than what it was. Blood Elves and Draenei, super cool. Each race, I think, is one of the most played by their respective factions. I personally don't like Blood Elves. I also don't like that the Alliance got Shamans and the Horde got Paladins, because it made each thing a little more unique. Also, the fact that, like, oh, the Horde gets a pretty race now. Like, that also kind of irked me. It's like, you like, part of the reason you're the Horde, they're the Horde. They're fucking monsters and savages banding together in this world that's against them. Not the Blood Elves, who are not that at all, really. Uh, so yeah, that and also raiding for the most part was super awesome. Serpent Strike Caverns had some problems, and Mount Hyjal was a piece of crap. But Sunwell, awesome. Black Temple, great. Tempest Keep is what a lot of people consider to be one of the best raids ever, and then what is one of the best 10-mans ever, if not the best 10-man ever, Karazhan. Everyone loves Karazhan. If you played at the time and got to progress through Karazhan, you know what I'm saying. Karazhan was amazing. It was the first, and it was the first part of Warcraft to have heroics. The problems with Burning Crusade is there was no catch-up mechanic. Oh, you want to play a Draenei? You want to play a Blood Elf? There's no way to get you up to level cap, or at least to the new content quickly. Have fun going through all of vanilla leveling all over again at vanilla leveling pace. Good luck with that. Then also, oh, you hit cap midway through the expansion? Good luck catching the raiding guilds. Have fun spending forever in Kara. And there was just no catch-up mechanic. Questing still wasn't, like, as story-focused as it would be later. Like, it was, story-focused in the old way of, like, read the text and infer from that. Not like where it is now where they have, like, cutscenes and stuff. Or, like, in-game dialogue sequences. So yeah, that was a problem with it. Well, the zones were really creative. They were kind of hard to traverse, especially Blade's Edge. But overall, great expansion. Set the standard for what would be to come. Number 3, Missa Pandaria. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with this. I just know they are. But I really like Missa Pandaria. I'm a lore junkie first and foremost. I love the story of Warcraft, and the fact that expansion was just so much new lore, so much new stuff on the Titans, all this stuff about these new races, the Hosen, the Jinyu, the Grummels, just all this heavy story stuff. Getting more of Wrathion, that was great. It's easily the most beautiful continent in all of Warcraft. It's just I could just fly around Pandaria and be like, it's pretty. And that's awesome. Raids, with the exception of Heart of Fear, super well done, and Heart of Fear makes up for it for having badass lore. Great questing zones, tons of stuff to do that wasn't just PvP and raiding. You could have a farm, you could go do pet battles, you could go do God, what was it? Like they had like all these like weird mini game things. Scenarios and 5-mans, there weren't a lot of them. But the ones that were there were fun. My personal favorite was Storm Stout Brewery. I really wish they'd make more dungeons that comedic, actually. In fact, the whole expansion had a lighthearted tone to it while having some serious moments, and that was super nice because, you come off Burning Crusade where it's like the Legion, and, while Wrath of the Lich King had some humorous moments, like, and Cataclysm did, most of the time they were both serious. Like it was nice to like go learn kung fu from the kung fu master in the forest, or like, oh yeah, here are these monkeys getting drunk and throwing feces at these koi pondfish people. So it was just weird. Like it was just weird expansion. There was always content. It was there was always content. So there was that. That was a nice bonus. Pandaren were a cool race. Monks were a good addition to a class roster. They're definitely, at the time, they were the most mobile classes in the game, and being able to tank, heal, or DPS is always a plus in my book. Negatives. Way too much focus on daily quests. By the time that I got exalted with the Golden Lotus and the Klaxi to get the gear, to get into raiding, I never, ever, ever, ever wanted to do a quest for any of those factions ever again. I cannot tell you how many times I rode on the giant bug and destroyed the dudes in the army, or rescued the stupid panda for the Golden Lotus. Ugh. Making it to the story, the Alliance Horde storyline stuff was cool, but I felt it could have been a little more fleshed out. I think that, like, Garish had some honor and some focus in Cataclysm, and just turning him into the most unlikable dickhead in the world was a real bummer. So yeah, those were a bummer. And then very similar to Cataclysm, the end patch lasted too long. We spent like 7, 8 months in Siege of Orgrimmar. It was a great raid, fantastic raid, especially the end of it where it's like you got to fight like all the Claxy Paragons you rescued if you did that storyline, but just too long, man. And also just not enough focus on 5-man content. Like Kata had amazing 5-man, so did Wrath, and this was just like raiding PvP or nothing. Also, the legendary quest line was a bullshit collectathon that no one liked, and the cape like out of all the legendary items besides the stupid like the the ring in Draenor is stupid. It's even dumber than the cape, but the cape at the time was easily the dumbest legendary. The procs didn't even look cool. Like Thunder Fury causes tornadoes. What's this proc do? Give you wings. Yeah. So there's that. Number 2, Vanilla. A lot of the reason I have this high up there is because if you played at the time, it was a revolutionary experience. It was like having a world this big with no real load times besides the beginning of the game or when you're going into a dungeon. Having an MMO that was accessible to the average person. MMOs had this stigma of being really bogged down with tutorials and being very punishing for dying and being a massive grind. And yeah, by the standards of now, it kind of has some of that stigma. But by the standards of the time, it was super easy to get into. The whole rusted experience thing, the fact that the game had these really quick tooltip tutorials, the fact that the game was just as massive as it was. I will always remember the first time that like I got the thing. Oh, go to Stormwind. Oh, Stormwind. Yeah, the big city from the lore. Like, I wonder how much bigger it is than like Northshire or Goldshire. And you go to it, it's just this massive city, and people are running around and doing stuff. You turn in the quest, and I'm like, and someone like brings up the auctioneer. It's like, what's the auction house? And they're like, oh yeah, it's an Ironforge. It's like, where's Ironforge? Oh, you just ride the train. Like, there's a train. It was just this huge world to explore, and even for how broken some things were, the fact that like pretty much every class only had one viable spec for PvE, and like PvP matches would last days in Alterac Valley, and like all these weird little things added charm, and it was just this really fun, amazing game that was really accessible. And I don't think Blizzard or anyone knew what this thing was going to become and how it became this very special thing. And like people look back on those old raids, and they're super fun because they were just throwing ideas at a wall and seeing what stuck. Like Nefarian's like weird ability, class specific abilities totally wouldn't play anymore. 40-man rating totally wouldn't work anymore. But at the time, it was super fun and awesome and weird. And I just gotta give props for being a revolutionary game and starting like like how many people tried to copy that original game and just failed and went bankrupt. Vanilla did have some problems though. Massive grind was a huge part of that, and then you just had the massive amount of grinding for one was a huge part of that issue. And then I think the fact that, like I said, there were class balance problems. It was very much a time sink. Hitting level cap nowadays, you can probably do in a week. Hitting level cap back then, the fastest I think I saw someone do it was a month. So there you go. So yeah, on to number 1, Wrath of the Lich King. It was the first and only expansion, in my opinion, to hit the perfect balance between super hardcore players and super casual players. It looked gorgeous at the time. It was the first one to do the phasing questing, so it's like you get these big, massive storylines and cutscenes, but it doesn't change the world for other players so that they can see it and do them. That was awesome. You had the fact that, like, oh, you want to get this gear and you want to get into ICC. Well, yeah, you can do the progression raider path, or you can do the badge path. That was great. The heroics were challenging enough and easy to get into and fun. There wasn't the dumb attunements from Burning Crusade, and really probably the best storyline in the history of World of Warcraft. The game itself, like all the stuff about the old god Yogg Saron and the Lich King, Both of those two storylines were fantastic. Then you had the side stuff of the Blue Dragon flight and the early humans and the Vicrule and the origins of humanity. That was great. Uh, my problems with Wrath come down to PvP, still kind of a mess. They did that one big battleground. Um, it's the one that you had to Winter Grasp. You won it, and then your PVE players could go raid. So like, if you were a hardcore PVEer that didn't like PvP, you're just like, please win so we can go kill those bosses for gear. So there's that. Um, you know, I think that, and then most of the zones not named Gundrak were super fun to quest through. And then you had the if you were a Death Knight, a Warrior, a Paladin, you had what is one of the coolest legendaries in the game in Shadowmourne, the Sister Blade to Frostmourne. Granted, it was nearly impossible to get the thing. Like, the work you had to get in to get that was crazy. And it was, in my opinion, the only expansion where every raid was good. OS, awesome. EOE, once you figured out the Drake mechanic, rad. Nax, one of the best raids in all of WoW history. Same with Ulduar, same with ICC. Some people will talk crap about TOC. I think Trial of the Crusader was a good raid, just the aesthetic wasn't great. Also, come on, Lord Jaraxxus. And just seeing that end cutscene with the Lich King was really the end of an era. And the fact that, like, yeah, you can get reputation and stuff through dailies, but if you really want to, you can just dungeon grind. And I liked having the options. I liked how there was a bunch of stuff to do outside of raiding and PvP, because there was totally, like, professions, and there was totally, that was the first one that added achievements, so it gave you a reason to go do holiday events and all this other stuff. And it was just this, it was just peak WoW, in my opinion. And obviously, with Legion coming out, I hope that I can say all this stuff about Legion when it hits. Like, oh yeah, Legion's the new number one. Because it looks like it might be that way. They're doing stuff to get players social again and out in the world. They're giving plenty of stuff to do. Legion looks like this like really complete thing. And I'm hoping it lives up to all the promise that it has going for it. And they obviously stopped working on Warlords of Draenor like right after it launched or a little bit after. So here's hoping they spent all that time making Legion as awesome as possible. And yeah, that's my ranking. I hope that you agree or you tell me why you disagree in a civil manner. And hopefully the Warcraft movie's good. And yeah, hopefully we get, it's been 25 years of Warcraft total all at this point, or like 20 something. Hopefully we get 25 more awesome things from the franchise. I'll be back next week with something. And probably the week after that, I'll probably be gushing over the movie, hopefully. So, see you next week. Bye.